The classic bad example is Horus. You always hear Horus. Horus had 12 disciples and all of this stuff. Anytime you hear the word Horus, forget it. It's almost all false. That's a really bad example. And they overdo the parallels, right? Not only is Horus a bad example, it's not a parallel with Jesus, but they will add like too many parallels that don't even exist. When you're doing these kinds of studies, when you're looking at influences of religion and the idea of mythotypes and so forth, what you're looking at in reality, when you find this happening for real, and if you were to take Jesus out of the equation, just look at the other mythical figures. Let's pretend Jesus didn't exist. Let's pretend we're not talking about Christianity. Just look at dying and rising gods. And this starts thousands of years before. We've got on clay tablets in Sumer, ancient Sumeria, we've got the goddess Inanna. And there's a basic story where she says, "Oh, I want to go take over the land of the dead. I'm going to go descend down to there." And then she basically gets stripped naked and she's killed and she's hung on a nail. So she's hung up, just crucified essentially. And 3 days and 3 nights she's dead. And then her secret agents come down and feed her the food and water of life, and she rises from the dead and she's alive again and ascends to glory, etc. And that's really our first dying and rising crucified God. Now, the parallels are simply the idea of a God basically going through a trial and being executed and then dying and then rising from the dead to glory. That's the basic structure. All the little details, like it's a woman, as she descends, she strips off various of her regalia and clothes, and there's a lot of differences, right? A lot of different things. But the base structure is this idea of a God assuming flesh, mortal flesh, being killed and then rising from the dead and then ascending to glory, that somehow that this death and resurrection achieves a glorious result for them. So it's a great defeat that results in a great victory. This is a common theme. And we see that the god Bacchus has a similar story. The god Romulus has a similar story. And they're all different, right? You can look at all of these different gods. Zalmoxis is another one. Adonis we have Osiris. And we have a lot of very clear cases. And now all of these are different. Like they have very different stories. All the way this plays out is different. But the common theme is become incarnate, get killed, die, rise again, and then some sort of great achievement. You raised to some sort of glory because of this death you went through. That feature is shared amongst all of these gods. And what it is each culture will take this basic structure and then layer on top of it all of the things that their local culture thinks are important. They'll pick their local god that most suits it and whatever. And so you get this idea spreads in this way. And so if you see this and then look at Christianity, look at Jesus, and you go, well, that's just a Jewish version of this, right? Like they just took the same theme, and then all the ways that Jesus differs from these other gods are all the ways that Jesus is Jewish. It's a Jewish idea. So they put in scriptural-based ideas of how to structure the story. They take Judean political ideas of how to structure the story. So they've made it unique in the sense that it is a Jewish version of a dying and rising Savior God, but it is still copying the same structure, and it's copying the structure that's common to all these gods. So it's not like they took Jesus and they're copying Osiris or they're copying Bacchus. They're not picking a specific god and just reproducing it. What they can see, just as we can see, is they can see this common pattern shared across all these gods. And they're borrowing that common pattern and then Judaizing it. And that's how Jesus gets constructed. And that's how you get Jesus doing the same thing, where he chooses to descend and become humiliated, and he's killed and dies and then rises from the dead and rises to glory. And this submission and death gives him some sort of great excess power that he can then use to help his followers achieve salvation. That theme is common throughout many, many religions of the time, and had been for centuries by the time Christianity arose. Really, Christianity is just finally the Jews got around to creating one of these deities for themselves, and that resulted in Christianity.